Hi lads. Um, this time I'm recording the idea to create what initially was a table game for cards. Um, that I thought that it would be a better idea to create a video game version first, just to test if people like this type of game. So what I did here is to design a game in which is a bit like cash flow, except that instead of having one single life objective, uh, which is to just get rich and accumulate wealth, you would have to balance different aspects of human life. So one will be your investments, another will be the career that you choose, uh, your relationships, the things that you do to find meaning in your life, keep your own health, and these last two options are more focused on the type of simulation in which we simulate multiple countries, and if things get very ugly in your country, well, perhaps you thought before about that and you managed to move to another country, or just because another country is doing better than yours, the capital is flowing away, and that's one of the factors for your economy to go up or down, or perhaps your country have the um, reserve currency. And having the reserve currency means that your inflation is lower when the central bank decides to devaluate the currency by printing more, because other countries are holding the currency of your country and their savings get devaluated. Now, originally, I thought about two ways to handle inflation. One way is that prices go up, but the other is that your savings go down and also go down the original price in which you make the investment. In this way, you will not see prices going up, you will only see savings going down, and you will see that you could sell an asset that you bought for a lower price than you bought it, but because the inflation was higher, the note on the original price that you bought that asset got devaluated faster, so you will have to pay capital gains. And the idea was that you will start the game, you wouldn't choose your characteristics, but well, you will have a personality. Um, you are born in a country and you have some traits that you didn't choose or you don't have capacity to choose. For example, you might have a big disability and you don't have a choice. What you have to do is to live the best life you can. All the players of the game start the game at the age of 18 being that person, as it is explained here. And the game finish at the age of 64 after 48 turns, and during these turns you have to make the best possible life for yourself, saving to invest in the future, perhaps to have a family, to achieve things that have value to you, like being productive, um, doing things that are meaningful, perhaps join a religion or become a political activist of some sort that is in line with your personality. And at the end of the game, we distribute medals regarding who save more for retirement or who have the most meaningful life, etc. The simulation of the country seems to, after trying to code it, it seems that it's a lot more complex than I imagine, because there are lots of parameters that influence each other, like the population. If there is a war, people might flee to other countries, or more men will die. If the birth rate is very low, we might have a situation in which citizens have to pay a lot more for the pensions of the people who are already retired, and so on. And then the government also offers some services, like public pension or health care. The idea here is that you cannot die, so if the government doesn't provide you with healthcare and you really need it, you have to pay a health insurance, or you have to pay directly from your pocket, in which case you might be forced into selling your house. The military expenses, it's something that the government pays with your taxes, and if the government doesn't charge enough tax, it's accumulating debt, and extreme amounts of debt could trigger a revolution, which is usually a very unpleasant situation in which I was not sure how to do it, but the idea, because I don't have a mathematical model for this, but the idea is that the government might swap from democracy to something else, perhaps into communism or a different type of dictatorship, after, of course, confiscating part of your assets or heavily devaluating the currency. It could be a 90% overnight devaluation. The idea is that if there are multiple countries simulating, you could see that there is a life quality index, and people emigrate from the less attractive countries to the ones that are more attractive. Every year you will get points for achieving objectives that are in the Maslow pyramid of needs. Like you own your own house, or you manage to reproduce, or you are maintaining children, which, by the way, your children also would become independent, let's say by the age of 20, and you will have to not maintain them more. Or you are in a social relation, or you gain social status, or self-actualization, depending on the activities that you choose to do. Of course, you cannot do everything, and you can do things, but whatever you do, it might consume time, money, and amount of care. Surely we cannot care about everything. Something that many people will experiment is that if they go to the gym and attend a class, they might be able to train for 1 hour. However, if they stay at home and they play a video, it might be more difficult to do a 20 minutes workout at home than to go to a gym and work out for 1 hour because the coach motivates you, and at home you have to be self-motivated. Same adopting faith or philosophy or political ideology. The idea here is that you can only hold one at a time, and some philosophies will be more in line with your personality or your situation. Cards, fate cards are things that you have no choice, like you could decide to study a university degree or accept a job or accept a romantic relation. However, there are things that you don't choose in life, like you get a cancer. In this case that I'm showing, Mormons knock at your door. You can open the door and listen what they have to say or tell them to leave. However, you are not fully capable of deciding what to think if your brain decides to reject it. So all I can say is that you are free to decide if you want to review a belief or be open to accept a new one. In this case, if you want to join the Mormons, you could open the door, and if you are lucky enough to join the group, you will have something that gives meaning to your life. You will have friends, and perhaps you will have some restrictions. Perhaps you cannot drink alcohol and will have to cut in other activities. Other cards will affect the whole planet. Like if we are lucky enough for someone to invent self-driving trucks, then the cost of logistics will go down and everyone in the planet benefits and the life for everyone improves. So you get to keep more savings. You would have current activities that you could quit, and some have to be completed. You will have relationships that you could manage. Of course, the relationships and the activities might have different effects if you are a man or a woman. Perhaps what brings prestige to a man does not to a woman, or the other way around. And of course, you need to be in a relationship to have children, and that will take you a cost. However, having relationships and children, it's an objective of the game. After all, when we die, sometimes children is our only legacy, or the only legacy for most humans. You would have activities that you can take. For example, you can start to learn to get a driving license, and after paying the fee and 1 year, spending that time and 1 year of work, you will get a driving license and you will be able to own a car. And of course, owning a car enables you to do other activities and perhaps other jobs as well. Unless someone invents the self-driving car, in which case you would be able to own a car without the requirement for a license. Other activities like going to the gym might improve your healthcare situation, which give you points every year. Here, if you join a religion, For example, you could go on a mission trip to persuade other people to join your religion, and that will cost you money, but again, it will make your life meaningful as you are working for something greater than yourself. Then there is the financial part. You have your investments, unless you join a religious group that doesn't allow it, and you will be able to buy bonds or real estate investment or gold, perhaps your house. Obviously, if you buy your house, for many people that's a rite of passage, and that's a step forward in life, and perhaps a requirement to have children. Before that, you might invest in bonds and then sell the bonds to pay the house. Perhaps you bought the house paying with a mortgage, so you don't need 100% of the money at that time. You will have a bill to manage, so at the end of each turn is 1 year, you will have a fate card that falls on you, like Elon Musk invents a fully self-driving truck or something of that sort. And you can review your activities and manage. Note that this is a game that you are supposed to play with other people, and the idea is that we reflect on the actions that we take, and because all the players start in the exact same situations with the same skills, same beauty level, capacity, gender, capacity to have children, etc. The only thing that changes is the decisions that we take. And by the way, when a card of fate depends on luck, the dice is the same for everyone. So if the card applies, it applies to everyone. If only applies to someone and not to others, is because they took action. It should not be because of luck, as the game is designed for luck to hit everyone in the same manner. And at the end of the game, we start giving medals and we declare winners. Perhaps you have enough savings for another 140 years. Well, these are my notes. The idea is not to illustrate in a game something like cash flow, suggesting that the cash flow is something important on investments, but other aspects. So regarding the economy, an economic crisis can trigger revolutions and confiscation, or maybe just confiscation. It could be inflation is a way to confiscate assets, because the government is who have the debt, and the people with debt, they get the debts reduced, so they have to pay less. If there is a war that have a high cost on the government, it might be an opportunity for men to show bravery, but it will also affect the demographics pyramid, and it could be an awkward situation for women even if they don't have to go to war, if most of the men that they could be attracted to die, and there is a unbalanced set of men and women. I try to copy the ideas of Simon Black, which he always suggests to as an insurance, go to other countries and try to get a double passport. So if something like a war happens or economic ruins for any other reason, you would be able to move to another country. Now, here I didn't separate politics. I didn't create different political parties, ones for spending more and giving more services and others for spending less. Um, but that's a possibility for an implementation. The current one is that it's random and you have nothing to choose on the politics of your country. There is nothing you can do to have an impact in your country. You can only do things for yourself and your family. So these men try to suggest that people should have a global perspective. You can travel abroad for cheaper healthcare. You should diversify your investments internationally. And well, if you acquire a passport, that's something that you can give to your children. And the idea in the game is that relationships also have names and personalities, and your children will also have quality of the child produce. If you have a child at an old age, the health of the child might be lower than if you have it at a young age. If you manage to pass a passport to your children, that will also give you extra points on the game of life. Regarding countries, the monetary system, a gold standard will not have inflation, however it allows the government to change, slowly become a fiat, like the Weimar Republic. The Weimar Republic, no, Germany before the First World War had a gold standard which suspended and spent the gold to pay for the war and left people with a fiat currency. And that was a way to pay for an expensive war. It's very difficult to go from a fiat currency to a gold standard. It seems to me that that only happens during revolutions. But again, I don't have a clear model of how things evolve in a crisis or what can trigger a crisis. Here I try to simplify, but still keep the most important assets. So it will be the cash that you have. You could have bonds, you can have stocks, only the index. You could invest in real estate by buying a house or an RETI, real estate investment trust, and you will have gold. Now, gold, it's meant to be a global market, so it would depend on the monetary demand for different countries at the same time, if multiple countries. And the idea is that when there is a revolution, everything can be confiscated unless you have the gold hidden. So in a way, when everything is destroyed, gold is the only thing that remains. Also, if there is a recession, you might lose the job because there is a recession and you are more likely, and your investments also go down. And then your investments to pay your mortgage or whatever. Then at the end of the game, there is an analysis of the taxes that you pay. Here I start implementing the prototype, and what I can see is I ran a bot that automatically does the buying. It earned about $2 million during the lifetime. Here it doesn't say if it's from investment or from working, but most of the taxes are paid on working. The VAT is obviously is only paid on the things that when you spend the money. So this bot doesn't spend money, just pay taxes. Yield is a tax on dividends, rental income, and dividends, and whatever the shares are. Yeah. Shares, bonds, and rental income, and it's supposed to be the same. Capital gains tax and inflation. Now, here you will notice that inflation is the second biggest source of tax, and that's a tax on the money that is on the bank, and most people wouldn't see that as a tax. They just observe prices going up, so they are not really conscious of how much money they are losing, but really inflation is a real tax, even if we don't notice. So the idea is to have an understanding of how much taxes we pay during our lifetime. Now here I add conscription. Uh, if you have to do the military service, you cannot work, and that's not so good for yourself. That's a forced labor, and in a way you are a slave during a period of time. And then there are the services that the government give. If you get free education, that's all very good for you because it allows you to get a better job, but then you have to pay it through taxes. And if the government is not getting enough tax and people are not buying the bonds, then the central bank has to buy the government bonds by creating more currency, and that creates inflation. Hence, the idea that inflation is a tax. We should learn about the value of personal insurance. If you are lucky, you never get cancer, but if you are unlucky, you will, and then the insurance will pay, and that will be a lot of money. Now, perhaps it's unusual for a single person to get cancer during his lifetime, but this is a game that can be played multiple times. And obviously, if you play multiple lives, eventually you will get it. The demographic pyramid might harm the finances of the government and then creating inflation, and also to understand the role of innovation. So that's only the economics block, and probably it's already over ambitious. But then there is also other aspects of life, like ideology. Ideas bind and blind together, which is good to be with other people, but it's not good to be blind. Values. Um, Martin Seligman talked about make a list or a taxonomy of 24 strengths of character. So perhaps if you are a creative person, you can take a career that requires creativity, and you further develop creativity. And perhaps you can find partners or friends who value creativity and value you for that. If you are a male, perhaps bravery is more important for your life. Perhaps you should voluntarily join the army during a war, because despite the high risk that you take, that's a way to show bravery, and so on, with all the other criteria, all the other virtues. You could develop these virtues and you could be loved for these virtues. Hobbies might also create job opportunities. If you are very good at some hobby, you might become a teacher. And here I try to add some of my own, like the virtue of being productive or the virtue of being family oriented. The idea is that you will have some restrictions like born personality, your gender, perhaps disabilities, your IQ level, perhaps low IQ. Perhaps you don't think that you have a low IQ, but it would be good to put yourself in the shoes of someone who has a low IQ and think how can they make a living and have a meaningful life. Perhaps they cannot be brilliant engineers. Certainly there are jobs, but life is more difficult if you have less options. Regarding male development, I wanted to add situational situations like the group entrepreneurs in cars talk a lot about the cost of divorce. If you are the person more likely to damage your life, the second person would be your wife or your husband. And a divorce could be expensive if the agreement is that you will share all your net worth and perhaps pay extra for children without getting the benefit of growing up. The benefit of having something meaningful in your life, which is to take care of them. So it is possible that your partner takes the children and you only have to contribute money without getting that benefit. At least you will get the biological benefit of reproducing, although we should take into account that men are never 100% sure that the children is theirs, and there is a possibility of a woman lying. So if you are a female, you cannot have that problem, but if you are a male, you can have that problem. I'm not sure how to add the ideas of this guy. I will teach you to be rich, which focus more on, it's more like a group therapy of how to talk to other people. I wanted to include some religions, and of course you can only have one at a time. And depending on your religion, you might not be able to do some things, or perhaps you are forced to give to charity or something of that sort. And also some life philosophy. Now, some life philosophies would be incompatible with religion, like if you are objectivist, which is a branch of libertarians, that would be incompatible with religion. However, many libertarians tend to also hold religious views. And depending the philosophy that you take, that will also affect how meaningful you see life. And these are the notes. I don't have the game, but I hope I can create an interesting game which probably it will have to be reduced in size, or at least um, to have the possibility of increasing complexity um, in a gradual manner. So you could play only the investment game, or the investment and the relationship, or the investment and health, in which you might choose to do a sport or whatever with your time. So that's the video presentation that I'm going to upload into YouTube. And lads, if there is any idea that you have, um, please let me know or email me. Let me know in the comments, or just email me. I would like to discuss it, or if anyone wants to join the team. Here I didn't discuss any kind of situational um, fate cards, but that's a possibility. And I hope you enjoy the game. Thank you very much for the 36 minutes that you have been listening.